So we gonna be talking about pods, and it's very actually important for you to understand what is a pod inside Kubernetes. Okay. Now I'm gonna try to make this information more easier for anybody to understand what is a pod, and how you navigate through pods. Okay. So I want you to imagine that you're a part of a catering company that provides food services for different events. Now, each event you cater for is like a separate application or service that you need to run. Okay. Now, a pod in Kubernetes will be like a self contained food truck or a mobile kitchen that your catering company sends to an event venue. This food truck, which we call now the pod, has everything it needs to prepare and serve the specific menu for that event. Example, we have the chef, and the chef inside the pod is containers running your application code. Then inside the pod or inside the food truck, we have the ingredients and cooking equipment. This is inside the food truck. And inside the pod, we have volumes with data and configs. Then we have utilities inside the food truck, and inside the pod, we have network connectivity and many other. Now, everything inside this food truck is designed to work together seamlessly. What does that mean? So the chefs can communicate and share ingredients without having to leave the truck. Now, instead of you having to personally manage and send out these food trucks to these events, Kubernetes acts as the catering company's operations manager, and Kubernetes oversees the entire fleet of food trucks, which we call the pods, and ensures that there are always enough trucks deployed to handle the workload for each event, which now we call the applications. Now, if an event becomes really popular and requires more food preparation, Kubernetes can quickly deploy applications or can quickly deploy additional food trucks to that venue to handle the increased demand. If an event winds down, probably the application stops being popular, Kubernetes can scale down the number of food trucks, the application, assigned to it, or reassign those trucks to other events that need more resources. The key thing is that these food trucks are designed to be disposable and replaceable. If a truck breaks down or needs upgrading, Kubernetes can simply retire it and deploy a new one in its place without disrupting the food service. Any important data or special recipes are stored separately from the food truck, so they don't get lost when a truck is decommissioned. This flexibility and scalability allows your catering company, now the application on Kubernetes, to efficiently handle any number of events or any number of services without service disruptions, while only using the resources you need at any given time. The next step we're gonna do is to learn how to create pods. Okay, it's very, very important we learn how to create pods. And in Kubernetes, you have two ways on how you can create pods. Okay, two primary ways. And the first one is through imperative commands, where you just run a command and boom, your application is created. Declarative object configuration file, where you have to create a file and then access the file and then run your pod. Okay, but we're gonna start with imperative command, and I'm gonna show you how to run an image using imperative commands. And in this image, we're gonna run what we call nginx. I'm gonna show you how to run that image. Now, creating pods using imperative commands, you can use the kubectl run commands to create a pod directly from the command line. This method is suitable for quickly creating a pod for testing or debugging purposes. That's why we use imperative commands. And we're going to create a pod with a single container running the nginx image. And for us to do that, so the first thing, so go straight to your PowerShell. At least I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to start Minikube. Make sure you have your Docker up and running. So you can say Docker, then login. So this is going to connect you to your Docker. So logging succeeded. And next thing you have to do, you need to start Minikube. And then you're going to say start. And then you have to give it a minute for it to go ahead and start. As you can see, it's pulling base image and then updating the running Docker Minikube container. Give it a little bit of time. I'm using Windows 11 and it's displaying here. This is the version of the Minikube that I'm using, V1. Then verifying Kubernetes component. It has created an image. This is an image here. And then here, kubectl is now configured to use Minikube cluster and default namespace by default. Okay. So what I'm going to do is that I will create, I'm going to try to pull an nginx image, and create a pod. Okay. Kubectl, kubectl, okay, run, and then I'm gonna say ng nginx, then I'm gonna give it a name, pod. So this one here, this is the name of the pod, this one. Okay, so I'm saying kubectl run the name of the pod, which is nginx pod, and then I'm gonna say dash dash image is equals to engine. And now this is the image now. Okay, that's the image here, engine X. Okay, so this is the pod, and this one specifies the ngx image to pull from Docker Hub. So remember, I'm pulling this from Docker Hub. That's why I had to start Docker. Okay, so that I can be able to pull this image. This image is found inside Docker Hub. Okay, I'm gonna say dash dash, then we have restart. So I'm going to say restart is equals to never. Okay. And this one here, this information here, this one ensures that the pod is created as a single run, like not a deployment. Okay, so click on enter, and you see it has created an Nginx pod here, and this is the name of the pod here. So as I told you, this is the name of the pod here, and this is the image here. So this is the name of the pod that has been created, and we need to get the pod. So what I'm going to do is that I'll say kubectl get pods. So if I click on enter, it's going to show me that the name of the engine X pod, this is the name here of the pod, status is running, ready, and also it was created 24 seconds ago. So we have this engine X pod that we have created here, but if you want to actually get more information about the pod, or you get more details information about the pod, so what you do, you run kubectl describe pod and then nginx pod. So if I click on enter, it's going to show me the pod here. So it's going to show me the information about the pod. So we have the name, which is nginx pod. The namespace is default. We also have the node. This is the node here. Status, the node is running, and also it tells us the time that the pod was created here. Okay, and also we have the image ID, which is here, docker pool, containers ID, which is here too. We also have, it tells us that the container is the pod is also ready here. And yeah, it actually gives us this description about the pod that we have just created. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is just go ahead and run this pod so that we can be able to access it. So I'm gonna go ahead and say uh, kubectl pod forwarding, and this is the name of the image here, 8080 outside, 80 inside the container. So I'm going to click on enter, and you can see pod forwarding. So when I come to my web browser here and type localhost, so localhost 8080, click on enter, and I'm going to see that the image is running now. Says welcome to Nginx. If you see this page, the Nginx web service is successfully installed. Okay, so if I click on Nginx org, I will go straight to this page here. So basically, it shows that the pod is running. Okay, so when using the declarative approach, what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a pod using YAML file. So the first one, actually we use command, but this one you need to create a pod using YAML file. And we also need to write some YAML file in it, and then we're gonna save it. And then we're gonna use our PowerShell to access this file here and run it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use VS Code to create the YAML file. Then after that, we're gonna open the file, and we're going to use kubectl apply -f, then the location of the file in your computer. Then we're going to say kubectl get pod, and then we're going to run this pod forwarding here, and we're going to access it actually through the through this command here. So for us to do that, actually we're going to do we're going to come straight here and look for Visual Studio. Then here, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it new file. Okay. Then, actually, let me see. So there you go. So I have this new file here that I have just created, and it has this configuration here. So here we have the API version, which is v1. Then we have the kind of the pod. This is a pod here. Then this is the name, Nginx pod. And then the specs, we have Nginx. This is the name. Okay, and then the image is Nginx, which is latest, and then the container port is 80. here. Okay, so we'll save this and then we'll try to access that. And the way to access that, actually, we have to make sure that our image minikube is up and running. So go straight to minikube start. So it's up and running. Give it a few minutes to start. Make sure also your Docker is also running. Okay, so you can go ahead and run your Docker locally. Give it some time. It's pulling image, running Docker minikube container, verifying Kubernetes component, and there you go. Then after this, what I'm going to do is that I will try and find the location of the pod, where the pod is. And I'm going to use kubectl, not even where the pod, where the YAML file is. So I'm going to say kubectl apply -f, and then the name of the path where this file is. Okay, so this is the name of the, so I'm going to go ahead and click on enter. And this is going to create Nginx pod that has been created here. Then I'm going to also go ahead and say kubectl get pod. So this one will also give me the pod, and it's going to tell me the name of the pod. The status is running, and it was created 36 seconds ago. Then the next thing I'm going to do is just run this pod here. So what I'm going to do is that I'll go straight and use this command here, kubectl pod forwarding, the name of the pod, which is Nginx pod, and then running on 80 inside the container. This is the container ID, and 8080, this is where I'm going to access the image. So I'm going to click on enter. So what I'll do, I'll just come straight to this this page here. Then I'm going to type localhost 8080, and as you can see, we have image running. So this is how you create an image using a pod using imperative and declarative way. Make sure you subscribe to this channel.